My name is Joanna, and this is Mindful Discourse, the podcast. Season 1, Episode 1. Get out of your ego. Now, I know I'm starting off, heavy hitting, but I don't really care. You gotta get out of your ego. Everybody. Yes, you too. Because this whole living in our ego, living in our flesh, as opposed to living in our spirit, living as our higher self, it is really the detrimental downfall of the human race. Please, for the love of God, get out of your ego. What is an ego? Well, Webster defines an ego as a reasonable or justifiable sense of one's worth or importance. Not so much. There's another, the self, especially as contrasted with another self or the world. Egotism, self-esteem. The one of the three divisions of the psyche in psychoanalytic theory that serves as an organized conscious mediator. Mediator between the person and reality, especially by functioning both in the perception of and adaptation to reality. I'm gonna run that back one more time. The one of the three divisions of the psyche in psychoanalytic theory that serves as an organized conscious mediator between the person and reality, especially by functioning both in the perception of and adaptation to reality. You made that up. Period. That's what they said. You made that up. So the ego is an interesting aspect of the human psyche, because it really is based in oneself and their own reality of self, which basically excludes everybody else. You're delusional, which is not always the worst thing, but when it causes you to lose out on blessings, when it causes you to lose out on relationships, opportunities, yeah, we can say that it's probably a problem. Now, ego is not necessarily a problem for everyone, because those who seem to be, how do we say, they feel like they doing good, they based on their definition of success, they're doing well, but I can guarantee you those people who live in that kind of mentality, they missing something somewhere, because you think that living in your ego is where it's at. So you're excluding someone who's probably very important to you, but you would rather have all these things versus the love. Because that's where the real success, that's where the real wealth comes from. Don't we say that all the time? I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have nobody to share it with, I could probably find somebody to share it with if I had all the money in the world. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to say is that you're going to lose out on some very fruitful relationships. It's some very fruitful opportunities, some very abundant blessings if you're constantly living in your ego. It's unfortunate for those who don't realize it, but they eventually do. Sometimes it's at the end when they realize that they may have had everything materialistically, but when it comes to the matters of the heart, they were empty. Ego, it's a touchy situation. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in being humble. That's me personally. I mean, in certain circumstances, everything with discretion, but I don't think that I should, little myself to big you, to make you feel important. I'm gonna clap myself up every chance I get, because that's how I maintain. That's how I stay afloat. I encourage myself, because not everybody's gonna encourage you. But that's a little different than being egotistical. So let's all just kind of take a moment and understand that that ego, that thing we call ego, pride, what other synonyms did they give me? Confidence, dignity, assurance, self-assurance, child, self-regard, pridefulness, self-worth. Like I said, ego is something you make up for yourself. And it excludes a lot of people when you do that. Is it really worth it to me? Not so much. But that's for you to decide for yourself. Now, why you always gotta be right? Yeah, that's your ego. It's okay. It is okay to sometimes bow out when you know you're right. Like, I'm right a lot. I'm right most of the time. Like, I'm going to toot my own horn. I am right most of the time. But, I don't always gotta tell everybody that. I don't always gotta toot my own horn in every situation. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to be like, throw your hands up. I ain't doing this. You got it. You got it. You don't have to argue. You don't have to prove yourself right. You know you right. You know you right. They likely know you right too, if you right. So what you arguing with? What you arguing for? You ain't always gotta be right. You ain't always gotta prove your point. Sometimes to keep your peace, it's okay to let somebody else think they got it. Especially if you ain't gotta live in a house with them. Alright, you got it. Go home. I'm going home. Now, if you gotta live in a house with them, it might even still be best to tell them they got it, because who want to be in drama in the house all the time over something as minor as who was right? I don't know the circumstances. We not talking deep. We not talking deep, and even then, it's okay to walk away. It is okay to walk away from drama, to protect your peace, and to avoid that little thing we call ego. Your ego will put you in some of the most embarrassing situations. And then that very same ego will have the audacity to prevent you from apologizing or mending a situation or relationship that you really want back. But that ego of yours got you feeling yourself. And so you losing out on someone or something that could mean absolutely everything to you. But you so stuck in who you are, what you doing, how good you got it going on, to just say, hey yo, I'm sorry. my bad. You know, I don't know where or why some of us in the human race choose to big ourselves up in such a way that it makes other people feel small, or at least attempts to make other people feel small. It's odd. It's odd to me because we all know and understand that in the grand scheme of things, no one individual is greater than another, right? But for some reason, there are some individuals who can really walk into a room and be like, all this me. Like, not no owner type stuff, but like literally, like you just walk into a place you ain't never been before and just be like, this me. Like, ain't nobody else. And you come in with that energy and you come in with that stankness of it all. And you wonder why you get the reception you get. Now you might get people bowing to you because those are people who are kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, it's not having an ego, it's almost needing one in some way, shape, or form. But you block your blessings when you step into a room with entitlement. There's the word I've been looking for. Ego somehow is attached to entitlement. And we all know what entitlement will do to somebody. It will jack you up because you will step up to a situation or to an individual who don't feel like you entitled to what you think you entitled to. And you gonna get their ego mixed with your ego. Boom. Bad situation. We just try to do better, be better, like grow, evolve. Here's one situation I want to talk about. And that's what, here at Mindful Discourse podcast, I want to include some real life situations in our topics. And when it comes to ego, there's a situation recently in Chicago, where there was a woman and a man in a restaurant, and they argued, and he hit her, and then the kid comes back, and her son, and at this point, a lot of that is behind us. I'm not pointing no fingers. I could only imagine. I was born and raised in Chicago, so I understand. I understand the plight of the black female in Chicago. When you always trying to defend yourself up against some of these men, because they will try you. However, excuse me. I think that situation involved too many egos, too many people trying to prove themselves right, too many people trying to be the big dog, right? Nobody ever has any right to ever put their hands on you, and you have absolutely the right to defend yourself if such happens. However, the two people arguing, had either of them just for a moment release their ego and say, you know what? You got it. that would have turned out into a completely different situation. I'm not pointing no fingers. I want to make this very clear. I don't need nobody in the comments saying you that. I'm not saying nothing. I'm saying that nobody wanted to release their ego and back down. You don't have to. However, if the situation could have turned out differently if somebody, either one, had just decided to lose the ego for a moment and say, you know what? Fudge you. I ain't got time for you. My peace is better than this. My peace is greater than this. Whatever you talking about, go on about your business. I'm out. I ain't doing this. You know, so this is a real life situation where ego turned into someone's life being taken, right? A couple of egos. It was a lot of egos in this situation. But I just said that to show an example of how small you think that your ego might not be an issue in your life, but a lot of people do this. A lot of people argue with people in the street that they don't know. You know, road rage is an ego thing. It's ego. You have a level of self-worth, of entitlement. You feel like something is supposed to go the way you want it to go, and it's not. And so you decide you are going to try to check somebody or put them in their place. But is that really their place? They don't know you. You don't know them. They don't have a place in your life. After this situation, you are likely not going to see them again. And let it be somebody you actually know. It doesn't matter. You got to check yourself before you can check somebody else. And that ego is going to jack you up every time. And you might not even notice it until it's too late. You're going to look back one day and be like, dang, had I just chilled for a moment, this could have happened. Had I just, back down to that situation, this wouldn't have happened. We got to do better by ourselves. All that anger and aggression, that ego, that puff my chest, that ain't even good for your internal, the inside of your body. Your temple. It's not good to be angry and trying to beat people into submission, argue people into submission, trying to make people think the way you think, or, is it all really worth it? At the end of the day, how much money did that put in your bank, in your pocket? How much food did it put on your table? We gotta think higher of ourselves. And when we think higher of ourselves, we find that ego, going back and forth with people, trying to make people see things the way you see them, it ain't worth it at the end. At the end of it all, none of that is worth your peace. Get out of your ego. Alright, so this is my first podcast, my first recording of my first podcast. So I'm gonna keep this one short. As we grow and we record more episodes, the information will become a bit more in depth. And we're even working on some live podcasts in the future, so just keep a lookout. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We got a website coming. Facebook, Instagram, Mindful Discourse Podcast. This is the place where we are going to get into it. We're going to talk about some of the things we don't want to talk about, but we are going to heal at the end. We are going to better ourselves. We are going to evolve. That's what this place is for. The evolution. If you are listening to me, you are here to evolve. And I'm glad that you're here. Thank you. Once again, my name is Johanna, and this is Mindful Discourse Podcast. Peace.